Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome to the Connecting with Coincidence radio show with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, bringing together the world's synchronicity experts to help you use meaningful coincidences to develop spiritually, psychologically, and practically. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence into your web browser to find the book, website, Psychology Today blog, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And now, here is the host of the Connecting with Coincidence radio show, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD.
To Connecting with Coincidence. Yes, I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. And who sees lots of coincidences? People who describe themselves as spiritual or religious report experiencing more meaningful coincidences than those who did not report. We proceeded to define other personality traits that were associated with high coincidence sensitivity. We studied 280 undergraduate university students enrolled in a psychology class. They were presented with a coincidence scenario to prompt them to understand what we meant by the term. And we saw that 6 personality traits we were measuring seemed to correlate with coincidence sensitivity. The most prominent one was referential thinking, which is characterized by beliefs that events around me have to do with me. Looking for a coincidence and finding meaning in them represents a form of referential thinking. The second highest characteristic was vitality and negative affect. It seems that high emotional charge is likely to generate increased connections between ideas in people's minds. Third was religious commitment, which is often associated with the idea that God intervenes in people's lives, suggesting that coincidences may be interpreted as a means by which people are being guided. The search for meaning is also a key characteristic because people searching for meaning in life are likely to apply what they see around them to their own experiences and see how they're connected. Faith and intuition was not statistically significant in our research, but it is in other people's research. So what's the common denominator among all these traits? An increased tendency to connect one idea to another in various ways. Each of these traits does that. With what ease do you connect similar ideas together? If you haven't yet, take take the weird coincidence survey on my website, Connecting with Coincidence, to see how sensitive you are to coincidences. Our guest today is Christine Clawley. Christine Clawley received her MA from the Depth-Oriented College Pacifica Graduate Institute in 2015 and became a licensed professional counselor in Colorado in 2018. She is currently a clinician in private practice and at a community health center in Alamosa, California. She's worked in a variety of settings, including inpatient, outpatient, hospitals, and prisons. After overcoming the life-threatening necrotizing fasciitis in 2008, she embarked on a journey of healing and self-understanding through exploring various modalities and techniques, and wants to share what she's learned with others and assist in their healing. Prior to contracting this illness, she received many dreams and messages that something was out of balance within her life and her body, and eventually foreshadowed her illness. Christine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Coincidence. Thank you for inviting me on your show. I'm really, really excited to be here.
I'm glad to have you. Now, why would you be calling me Dr. Coincidence, Christine?
Well, I guess a brief intro here to your audience and listeners. We are creating a documentary about synchronicity and coincidence, and you are featured in that documentary as Dr. Coincidence. And I am just really grateful to your research and all the work you're doing to advance awareness on this topic.
Well, I appreciated your coming to visit me. You came to my house a couple of months ago, and we had a good time filming it right here in my house. So tell me, I want to know how the filming is going. You'd gone to Florida. I think you talked to Joe Cambry in California. But tell us about how your movie's going.
So the film is going very well. We have gathered most of the in-person interviews that we're going to do at this point. We are interested in soliciting more feedback from just the general public. Stories about coincidence, precognitive dreams, other time anomalies, perhaps even telepathic experiences. And we're going to be moving into the editing phase this spring. So likely in fall 2020, the film will be released.
Who else do you have as in-person interviews?
Joseph Cambray, yourself, Dr. Coincidence, Rob and Trish McGregor, who've authored many books on synchronicity, Eric Wargo, who's written a fascinating book, which is called Time Loops. And let's see, there's shamanic healers, Rox and Jim Haggins, and they talk about their spiritual practice and how that garners the power of synchronicity, and many others. I can't think of all the names off the top of my head, but it should be fascinating.
Well, I'm curious to see, so maybe you can go get the list, because I'd like to be able to see who else you're including in your film. But you got started in looking at synchronicity for a variety of ways, but one of them involved your father. Would you tell us about that one?
Absolutely. So one of those amazing synchronicity experiences, but this one had quite tremendous consequences. So this story, I think, really demonstrates the power of synchronicity and why it's so important to really pay attention to these events. So I was visiting a friend in California. I was we were at the bookstore, just kind of looking around, killing time before I was about to jump on a plane to head back to Denver, Colorado. And this book seemed to just, pop out at me. It almost seemed to glow, if you will, from the shelf of the bookstore.
That's such an important thing, this library angel thing that's been around for quite a while, that certain books call us. I interviewed a guy named Frankie Finn on this program a couple of weeks ago, and he was covered in his mind with blue butterflies. There were all kinds of blue butterflies appeared to him. And days later, I was walking around in a grocery store and supermarket, and there was a book with a blue butterfly on the cover, and I bought it, and it turned out to be a very, very interesting read for me.
Wow. Fascinating. See, very, very important to pay attention to these things. So I'm happy to hear that story also. Yes. So I grabbed this book. I look at it. It happened to be by an author, Eldon Taylor, and the title of the book was called Mind Programming. And I decided to buy the book. So I, bought the book. I was really excited. I started reading it on the plane. And I just was loving the content, really eating it up, reading it quickly. And I'm about 2/3 of the way done with the book. And I get to this chapter, and some intuition, some feeling inside me just says, this is important information, finish this chapter and then just stop. And in this chapter, the author of the book was discussing a very powerful coincidence where his wife had just read on the back of a cereal box that burning lungs can be a sign of that you're having a heart attack. So he had been having the sensation of burning lungs, which is not a common symptom that people think about, right? You think of chest pains, the left arm, kind of tingling. And so he acted on that, went to the, doctor right away, and it ended up saving his life. So I had just read that, closed the book, and, just kind of sat with that information, digested it. So it was fresh in my mind. And, deplaned, the plane I was on, my dad was picking me up, and all of a sudden, he's, looking very pale, saying, oh my gosh, I'm having burning lungs. My lungs are burning, and it must be the pollution in Denver because they're from Colorado Springs, my parents. And, he asked me to drive. And I said, Dad, this is just really strange because I read, just about 15 minutes ago that can be a sign of a heart attack. Well, at first, he's kind of minimizing that. Oh, no, I'm fine. Well, I overrid what he wanted me to do, which was just drive all the way back to the Springs. And I took him to the ER. And they ended up having to operate on him right then and there. One of his ventricles was 99% blocked, and he may not have made it had we ignored that information. So that is an instance where the right information has fallen into my lap at the right time. There's no real external causal explanation for something like that. And that potentially saved my father's life.
We're coming to the end of this segment, and that's a wonderful story. We'll continue with that in our next segment, and hopefully who else is in your movie. You're listening, Connecting with Coincidence. I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest is Christian Clawley.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shamans worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Path Home Shamanic Art School proudly presents the Gathering of Shaman 2019 Fall Retreat, Manifestation Samhain. Join me, certified shamanic instructor Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magnificent Colorado Mountains this November 2nd and 3rd for a life-changing event. Participate in unique teachings and ceremonies that'll put the power and magic of shamanic manifestation into your hands. Sit in circle with like-minded individuals, sharing group energy and the power it generates. Classes will be held in a facility next to the beautiful, majestic Arkansas River, further empowering the experience. Space is limited, so reserve your spot today. For more information, visit findyourpathhome.com or email touchin@findyourpathhome.com.
Well, welcome back to CC with BB. I'm your host, Dr. Byman, MD, and this is Connecting with Coincidence. Our guest today is Christine Clawley, who is the producer, director of a new movie coming up probably next year on Synchronicity. I thought that story about your father and the burning lungs, I thought you read something on a cereal box that was something like that. Was that in the story?
So that was the author reading that on his cereal box. So that was the author had written about this information and shared it in his book. And I just happened to, look at that information at the right time. So.
And somehow you knew that was the place to stop.
Yes.
What an experience for you to walk off the plane and hear your father saying just what you had read.
I'm sorry, say that again.
What an experience for you to walk off the plane and hear your father saying the same thing you had just read.
Oh, it was a complete shock. I was almost feeling like I was in a dream.
Yeah.
You know, it can be hard to really believe when a synchronicity or coincidence of that magnitude shows up. But I went with it. I acted upon that information, and that was the right decision.
And tell us what that feeling was like at that moment, like you were in a dream. And tell us a little bit more about that experience.
So it definitely was a feeling that just went through my whole body, kind of stopped me in my tracks. It's such a profound feeling to have something that's just, kind of sitting in your mind, just happen so quickly, in the external world. And so, I was very concerned. And although my father, didn't believe it and, kind of denying or minimizing that information, I just had a very strong feeling that there was a reason this was happening. It was a shock.
It was a shock. I'm just trying to imagine it. And a shock and so helpful. It's really was useful. Some of them are coincidences are just like very interesting, but this had real world consequences.
Exactly. Absolutely. And so, one thing that I think both of us are trying to do is to get people to pay attention to these kind of experiences. It's such a, overriding attitude in our culture to, deny the importance of these experiences or even pathologize people who have these type of experiences. So I'm really trying to get people to notice and not just dismiss these kind of coincidences or the intuition that leads someone to take a particular action. So just, yeah, really emphasizing that importance.
You're trying to do that through your movie. I guess that's your vehicle right now.
Absolutely. That's the vehicle.
Tell us how you got the idea of doing the movie. I think it had a lot to do with your severe illness.
Well, it had to do with my illness. It also had to do with another synchronicity, actually, too. Um, so I'll start with the other synchronicity that led to the film idea and now the execution of the film. I was living in Ventura, California, working at a coffee shop. I was, studying Jung, and just happened to strike up a conversation with someone who is also, studying synchronicity. And his name is Tom Haynes, has, been a director, been involved in photography and film for, I think, 20 years or so. And, we both came to this idea together of how powerful it would be to create a film about time and synchronicity. So that was an interesting, coincidence or chance meeting that has led to something again unfolding in the external world that just started with an idea. So so that was something that a meeting that kind of furthered this film. But I'll talk about my illness, yeah, briefly. So back in 2008. I was going through a very hard time in my life. I had just graduated from college, was, working a job I didn't feel that passionate about. And to be honest, feeling, quite depressed in my life. And let's see, I had kind of, lost hope. I was feeling hopeless. And I was, having these dreams for about a period of 6 months. And they were just these terrifying dreams where I would wake up and I felt like I was being strangled. And this, dark woman, uh, it, I would see her in my dreams and I would wake up from these dreams and it felt like there were still hands around my neck. So it was this, this woman just filled with rage. And I had this repeated dream over and over again. And in my waking life, I was very much repressing a lot of my anger. My soul was not happy with what I was doing. And in a lot of, indigenous cultures and societies, if you're not following your soul desires or soul wish, there's a part of you that gets angry or maybe even splits off. So I had had these dreams, and I had even had 2 dreams that I'd had a cyst in the back of my throat. And I was trying to remove this cyst in my dreams. So, fast forward 6 months later, I'm working a lot. I get very ill, and I have these flu-like symptoms. It starts off with a sore throat, but then after some time, the illness just gets worse. I go to get, to the hospital to try to get help. And they basically refused me. It was only 2 weeks in my life I was without insurance. So I really felt at that time that this was serious and I felt like I might die. So I called my parents, asked them to pick me up from the hospital. They took me back home and the illness continued to get worse. I'd just been to the hospital. We thought, maybe everything's okay. So I waited a few more days.
I'm going to interrupt just for a minute
Yes,
there because
absolutely.
I'm impressed with the woman choking you in the dreams, and
Sure.
then you have a dream of a cyst in your throat. So there's a consistent, at least beginning, two pieces of a throat problem. As your dreams are trying to tell you that.
Exactly. Exactly. That is so important. And it was a repeated dream. And it was over a period of 6 months. So something in my subconscious was literally screaming to me, something's not right within your body. Within my throat. And again, there could be a spiritual side to this. I was kind of, holding back my voice. I was, in a sense, choking myself.
Yeah, and
symbolically.
Right, and holding back your voice, that goes together with the voice box being right there in the throat. Yeah,
absolutely. So this was the scariest part. Right before I went into the hospital, I went into septic shock. This red rash just moved very, very quickly from my throat down to my chest and into my stomach. So I had a collapsed lung. The flesh-eating bacteria was moving very, very quickly. This was in minutes. It moves from my throat all the way down to my chest, my torso. And I went into another state of consciousness. My parents rushed me to the hospital. They thought they were going to do a simple tracheotomy, patch up my lung. And when they cut into my neck, and I'm sorry if this is unpleasant for your listeners, but, dead tissue spilled out, and they realized this is something else entirely. So I had a 1% chance of surviving this illness. They kept me in a medically induced coma for about 3 to 4 weeks. And I am extremely lucky to survive. But that illness originated from a cyst in the back of my throat that burst. That was what they determined to be the cause of this major illness. And I did have dreams throughout that coma that I think I would save that for another time. But those 3 dreams that I had while I was in the medically induced coma, I think have shown me the direction that I'm taking, with my life, the work I'm going to do. And I do remember consciously choosing to come back and to live when I was in that other realm.
Understand. And we're we have about another minute left, but I want to emphasize the signals from your body to your dreams about a cyst in your throat. You really nailed that. In your dreams, your dreams were able to at least foreshadow what was really going on with you, and the woman choking you even before that. And
yes,
being able to figure out when those dreams are actually trying to tell you something, because unfortunately you weren't able to act on those dreams. They were correlated, but you really only acted when you started feeling so awful.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That's what made a difference right there. You're able to finally get some help.
Yes.
We're coming to the end of this segment. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence. I am your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. So, are just painfully.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Welcome back to CC with BB. Yes, I am your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, and this is the X Zone Broadcast Network. We're talking with Christine Clawley, who just described a remarkable recovery from an awful illness and 4 weeks under a medically induced coma. And this coma had 3 dreams in it, or 3 or 4 dreams. Why don't you tell us what happened to you in those dreams?
Well, again, just a preface for your listeners, it may be a little disturbing to hear this. So if you're sensitive, maybe you can turn it down or tune out for a moment. But these dreams were not pleasant dreams. So they were very much reflecting what was happening to my body. Now I've looked at these experiences from a much more positive light. So although it may sound disturbing, I think these dreams in a way were, in that experience, part of an initiation for me, a spiritual initiation. But these dreams involved basically a negative experience of feeling like I was being tortured, which was what was happening to my body in the physical realm. They had to basically open my chest, keep it open the entire time, and suck out that infection with a wound vac. So they would open and close me up over and over again. It was very painful. When I woke up, it was a shock to come back into my body, but yet my subconscious was registering this. So that was one experience of feeling like I was being tortured. Another experience was living in another life, and this dream just seemed to be an entire lifetime. So it felt like forever, as I was really stuck in this dream realm. I was in a coma. I couldn't wake up. I was an Asian woman, and I was on a huge wooden ship out at sea, and I basically felt very hopeless and depressed because I was a slave, and other women on this ship were actually sex slaves. And I was older, so I had helped bring these women onto the ship. We weren't allowed to talk to one another. It was a very oppressive, horrible environment. And it felt like there was no way out.
I wonder how you tuned into that particular reality of slave ship women.
I don't know. I have some suspicion now, and I can talk about that a little bit once I finish the dream. But in this dream, there was one thing that kind of broke the spell of this hopelessness. And my sister showed up on that ship. She looked different. Again, she was Asian. And we weren't allowed to talk, but we looked into each other's eyes, and I'm going to cry. And I felt this incredibly beautiful sisterly love. And there was just this compassion and this understanding of the difficulties and kind of the horror that we had both been through. And actually, my sister later mentioned that there were several times I would wake up out of the coma and I would lock eyes with her and start crying. So I wonder if, this was a part of some of those experiences. So we ended up, helping the other women escape. We created this sense of community on the ship, and we were rescuing, other women. We had this whole operation. And that was really a shift when that helplessness and that bleakness was completely broken and shattered.
Wow. That is amazing on several levels. It's the sort of thing that needs to keep happening in the world, that the oppression of women is very clear and continues. And here you are organizing a bunch of sex slaves into rebelling and reaching for freedom. That's wonderful.
Yes, thank you. And so, now I am a counselor. I work with a lot of women who've been in domestic, violence issues. And, my sister and I are very close. I'm much closer to my family after this illness. I don't take things for granted. I appreciate every day, every breath. When I awoke from that coma, I had many challenges ahead of me. I could not breathe on my own. I had to learn how to breathe again, eat on my own, walk, talk. But I had such an incredible will to live. So that was the difference. Before this illness, I was suffering from depression and hopelessness. And after this illness and these dreams, I just had such an incredible will to live. And I had experienced after the other big change is precognitive dreams on a more regular basis after this illness. So I was much more in touch with that intuitive side of myself.
That whole thing liberated you. As you liberated women and yourself in the dream, you liberated yourself for real life, and opened up your potentials with precognitive abilities.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to put it. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, I think that does seem right.
Yeah, I'm glad it does, because it's such a compelling metaphor for what you've needed to do and what women need to do, and helping each other get off that ship and get moving into a better reality. You were. I want to. I'm still interested in how all this has impacted your life, in addition to what you just described. How has it changed your relationships with men, for example?
Well, that is interesting. I would say, it's made me more compassionate towards both men and women. You would think I guess I would have some anger, hatred, and certainly I'm not, happy that women are in this position, but I see how men are hurting just as much as women by these rigid gender roles, by the system of patriarchy, which says to men, you aren't allowed to be in touch with your feminine side, to, have feelings, to cry, to be vulnerable at times. So I would say it's improved, my relationship with men also. It's made me a more compassionate person overall, I think, because I have been willing to deal with, my own pain and suffering. I think anytime someone's willing to confront that within themselves, it does allow you to be more compassionate with others and see the bigger picture. When you make a judgment on someone, you're just seeing, one surface moment, but what is their history? What is their story? And that is the beauty of psychotherapy. You see a much deeper, three-dimensional picture of that person.
Right. What has it done about your belief in God?
Yeah. So I believe when I was on the other side, I did have some kind of encounter with, I don't know, God, creator, this other intelligence or force, and it was beautiful. I had an experience actually recently where I consciously relived some of the things that happened to me. And it was this moment when I went from experiencing just an incredible amount of pain. And yes, I was asleep, but my body was registering all that. So the body still holds that trauma. But there was a moment where it was like I realized there is no such thing as death. I felt just absorbed into this incredibly beautiful state of oneness, warmth, no fear, just love. And I still have moments, where I feel that or remember that. And my spiritual practice has been very important to me. I've explored, for me personally, learning about the indigenous culture, their spirituality, some of their even rituals that they use to connect with Creator have been incredibly valuable to me. So it's, yes, God, Creator, Spirit, whatever name you call it, it's something that I've been, continually searching for to kind of re-experience or pull that more into my life here.
Understand. It's something happening with me just lately too. I've had some medical difficulties recently, and I realize that I can't control all of what happens in my body. I'd like to, but these things happen, and I have to give up the power and belief that I, as a man or as a person, can figure it out and know what to do. I trusting in God or whatever you call. And I'm using God because I haven't used God very much in my life, so I can use it as a term now, rather than the way it's been sometimes macerated.
Mm-hmm.
And trusting in God becomes a real relief to be able to do.
Absolutely. It's an incredibly humbling experience. For me, prior to this illness, I was someone who was very type A. Independent. I'm still a little bit type A. Never wanted help from anyone. I didn't realize at the time, but I guess I think I viewed that as a weakness. I want to do everything on my own. So then.
And we have to we're coming to the end of this segment,
sure.
so we can continue in the next about what you're doing. You're listening to Connecting with Coincidence. I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest is Christine Clawley, who's directing a new movie on synchronicity.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, The 70-Year Cover-Up Exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hides' life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Welcome back to CC with BB. Yes, I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. We're on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. We're talking to Christine Clawley, who still has some Type A left in her. And that's true because, I mean, you're running around the country doing this movie, and that takes a little Type A activity to do it.
Absolutely. I do admit that.
I do see. It's pretty cool. Now, I asked you before, and I still want to know who else you have in your movie?
So I can't find that full list, but a few other names. Robert Moss, who's phenomenal. He's written a lot of books about dreams, and he's had 3 near-death experiences and the power of synchronicity. Annika Lucas is another individual. She is a former sex slave who's now using the power of yoga to help heal others, especially in the prisons. And I think her project is Prison Freedom Project, I believe.
How does synchronicity fit in with what she's doing?
Synchronicity fits in with what she's doing she's working in the prisons, and that's a very, rigid environment. It's a very disempowering experience. And a lot of these people are, people in prison are people who've experienced a lot of trauma. So she is using the power of, movement, synchronizing breath and the movement of body to release and process emotions. So that's kind of a different look at synchronicity. But I think that's another thing I did want to bring up is the increasing disconnection from our bodies in this modern technological world. And how can we, create more continuity between the mind, body, emotions, and the natural rhythms.
One of the
So
one of the ways that I have come to think about the value of synchronicity in the terms we're just talking about is that our minds are getting captured by the media, and particularly social media and computers. And the computers and social media all run on yes or no, black and white, 0 and 1. It's a very dichotomous background of the ideas that come out of computers. And what the real world has out there is much more analog. It's not black and white. It's patterns. It's smooth rhythms.
absolutely.
It's like, to me, it's like sine waves versus 1 or 2, 0 and 1, where there's smooth continuities. And if we can think analogically or metaphorically when we look out into the world and then try to match what we're thinking with what's out there, and that synchronicity, coincidence awareness can keep us from getting caught up in the world of the computer and keep our eyes on the world of analog life, of trees and emotions and interpersonal energy.
Absolutely. I am so glad you brought up this point because this is also a passion of mine. Nietzsche, talked about the human being as meaning-making creatures. I mean, that's the most important, perhaps defining aspect of a human being, is that we make meaning of our experiences. We, are constantly defining values. And there is a worry that in this increasingly technological and automated world, in some ways that we lose our free will and we become more beholden to these outside forces. So in a way, the synchronicity is kind of the remedy for this situation. How do we imbue time itself with a sense of meaning and preciousness? Because, certainly the clock or computers doesn't have that kind of value system that human beings have. So, yes.
And I go to the very root of the difference between looking at a computer and looking at a tree. And the difference is yes or no, 0 and 1 versus lines and curves.
Yes. And again, so there's a phenomenal book, maybe for your listeners. It's called Time Wars, The Primary Conflict in Human History. And the author, Jeremy Rifkin, brings up this point that the human being is trying to match their biorhythms to the computer. And that can create, disease and illness. And so we give up the complexity, the multiplicity of our body and emotions and the relationship to nature when we put so much emphasis on connecting with the computer. And our lives are becoming more and more intertwined with the internet and our phones, and it does become difficult to disconnect. And the real question is, what is that doing to our brains, and what is that doing to our relationship to ourselves and each other? And I worry about that.
And synchronicity is a remedy for this. I'm pretty sure of it, and it's being this matching biorhythms to the computer is like is matching rhythms to a flat line.
Yes.
It's just zeros and ones that we're dealing with, where the biorhythms of around us and in us are sine waves, where move up and they move down, and it's in usually it can be in a nice rhythm. Sometimes it isn't, but at least it's moving. The zeros and ones keep us more and more flatlined. Where I'm trying to get some idea about is how often you think of something the way you found that book, but you think of something or it's attracted to you, and there it shows up on your computer. And I don't mean the algorithms from Amazon that know what you want to buy. I don't mean that. I mean that where it seems like it's more random, where you think something, you need something, and the computer gives you what you're looking for. What do you think about that relationship?
Well, I think that is possible, true synchronicity and not just, advertising or, monitoring. I think that absolutely can happen where, you're thinking of something. I mean, this still happens to me. I still have precognitive dreams. I still dream about things that happen in the area in which I live. And so I'll dream an event and then I'll maybe read about that event. So absolutely, I think still even with that connection to the computer and possible undermining of our free will, that the human being is so powerful, the human spirit and consciousness is so powerful that it can override, any external control mechanism. So, I think absolutely that could be a legitimate coincidence or experience when you think something and then see it on the computer.
It's happened with me trying to write something, and I needed an answer, and I fiddled around, and there it was. It does happen. It becomes necessary to talk about what we mean by free will, and just what is free will, and what is the limit of what are limits of free will. And I've come to more fully recognize that each of us is a mind embedded in our environment. What you learned through your coma and what I'm learning now through my medical problem now is that my mind is embedded in other people's minds. That
yes,
I am not as separate from what's around me as I used to think, or probably the way you used to think. And so the way I feel that is when I hear you talking with such enthusiasm about synchronicity and trying to get the ideas out, and that you kind of are thinking the same way I am. It's such a pleasure because my role used to be like, look at me, Bernie Beitman, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Coincidence is still there, but it hasn't gone, my showmanship business, as you know.
Well, good.
I'm doing my next Dr. Coincidence show on November 8th. It's the second time we're going to be doing it here in Charlottesville. So I still got that, but more it's that I'm so glad to be part of maybe helping you do what we all need to be doing, is somehow elevating the study of coincidences in a way that will be a counterbalance to how our current reality with the digitalized life is making us be.
Absolutely. Again, phenomenal point that you bring up. Is this sense of kind of isolation, that's an individualism that is really present in our Western thinking, us being separate entities without much influence on those around us. And, this may sound, overly simplistic, but the quantum mechanics, that study has really broken up our perception of reality to make us realize, that we are much more connected, that we do have subtle influences on our environment, on those around us, and we do have incredible power from that. So often, in life, advertising, the systems we're brought up with, how education is geared, the individual often does feel like they're powerless in some ways. The world is so big, how can I have an influence? But each person is so tremendously powerful, and we do influence those around us. And go on.
And the more we can have you and me and more other people independently and now together, coming together to help bring coincidence and synchronicity awareness to the world, we're doing something we need to do. And we've come to the end of this show. Been a pleasure having you on the show, Christine. I look forward to your movie. Listening to Connecting with Coincidence, I'm your host, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Our guest has been Christine Clawley.